Yo guys, welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title of the video, we're going to be talking about some G.I. Joe. This is the mini series or the multiple mini series that lead up to the ongoing as a part of the Energon universe, which of course includes G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Robert Kirkman's Void Rivals. I've already read Transformers and I've talked about it at length in the past. I haven't talked about Void Rivals too much, but I've already read it. G.I. Joe was the only one that I was hesitant to get into for a long time, just because, I don't know, it's a franchise that I never really got into, and there's, much like Transformers, there's just so much stuff about it. Like, I mean, it's been around since the 80s, right? But it also just hasn't really ever interested me in general too much like Transformers has. Um, but, anyways, this was a perfect time to get into the G.I. Joe franchise with it being a part of the Energon universe. And now, with like recent G.I. Joe issues that are coming out, I mean, the issue, I don't know, is it issue 20? Where the cover is Duke with Optimus Prime. It's starting to really tie in for the Energon universe. So now's as great a time as any to finally tap in. So that is exactly what I did. I have these first two Image Deluxe Edition hardcovers, which are just amazing. I love these. They've done them for several books, and I have all of the current Energon universe ones. But this one here with Duke on it contains the Duke miniseries as well as the Cobra Commander miniseries. This was the first one that they did. And then this one here, Kayla got me for Christmas. This contains the Scarlett miniseries as well as the Destro series. So, with all that being said, I'm going to hop into this. I'm going to be talking about what I liked, what I didn't like, and just my overall experience tapping into G.I. Joe. So first things first, we've got the Duke mini series. I thought this one was really awesome. I enjoyed it a lot. Starting off, of course, in Transformers, we're actually first introduced to Duke within like the first issue or two, um, with just like a slight cameo. Of course, when Starscream shows up and blows up the jet or whatever, we get like a shot at the name tag of the soldier that's ejected from the jet, and his name, it says Duke on there. So that's when we're first introduced to him. So the book opens up uh, with that scene of their meeting, and so already just off rip, it's already tying in pretty significantly with Transformers, which was something that I was glad for because I didn't know if it was largely going to be like its own kind of thing, like Transformers is at the start. But no, like it literally starts talking about the Transformers and the mystery around them, literally from the get go. But you follow Duke, and he's kind of, uh, I want to say he's discharged, but like he's forced to take some time off. He doesn't really do that. He sees some shit he isn't supposed to see and kind of stumbles into this conspiracy. A bunch of people die. But anyway, all of the characters that are introduced are pretty cool. You got, what's his name? Clutch. Clutch is his name. He's kind of an old friend to Duke, and he's like kind of a super genius, except he's like in a trailer park. He's kind of like a redneck hillbilly super genius, and he kind of puts together all these cars, and he's like a mechanic. But like one of the cool details I like is that, he has this trailer, and like there's a bunch of crushed cans, and we see he has like um, a science degree from MIT. Like it feels out of place, like the contrast, and it's pretty funny. And we get kind of a feel for his character, but he gets wrapped into everything too, and they're sent to this compound, where we meet Baroness, and she's super cool. There's just a whole lot that goes on in this miniseries, but by the end, we find out, what's kind of going on, and Duke is selected to create a team around him, and this is sort of the origin of the GI Joe. I really enjoyed Joshua Williamson's writing in this. Um, it was felt like a very fast paced and was definitely like a high octane action movie. And at some points, I mean, I guess just a minor critique is that sometimes it felt a little too fast paced. But it was still just a really cool, high octane, high energy read that I really enjoyed. And Tom Riley's art is just fantastic. You know, I really dig it. It reminds me a lot of like somewhere caught between Chris Samney and Ryan Otley, which are two of my favorite artists already. And I feel like Tom Riley's art, at least for this book in particular, his especially like his faces and like the coloration and well, I guess the colors aren't him. It's Jordy Belair, I believe. I could be wrong, but everything that kind of comes together, it just reminds me of like I can see elements of Ryan Otley, but also a lot of like Chris Samney kind of art style. Like like I said, it's somewhere cross between the two, and I really dig it. I think it was just fantastically done, and it was definitely the highlight of, in my opinion, all of these miniseries. Was the Duke miniseries was my favorite one. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. But moving on, we've got the Cobra Commander stuff, and this was easily my least favorite of the four miniseries. So I'm not really familiar, like I established, I'm not very familiar with G.I. Joe as a franchise, and I didn't realize that G.I. Joe leaned as heavy as it did into like fantasy elements, because in the Cobra Commander stuff, it kind of opened my eyes where there's like these underground snake people and like I don't know, like these mutants. Like there's this dude that has like wings and stuff, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't know that GI Joe had that kind of stuff, so it kind of caught me off guard. Uh, I mean, the little mini series for Cobra Commander, it was fun. It was interesting, but I think I don't know. It just focused around characters that I didn't really care a whole ton about, and that's sort of a theme that I've noticed with. You'll hear me say this about the Destro miniseries: is the ones that follow the bad guys. I'm just not nearly as interested in as I am the one that following Scarlett or following Duke. Um, I just don't care about the villains as much. Like I don't need a whole miniseries about them. It seems that the real purpose of the villain miniseries or series are mainly to I don't know, just kind of focus on world building and setting things up for the main series, while the good guy series, the actual like GI Joe series, are focused on like building up our main characters. So I mean, I understand they kind of both serve a role, but Cobra Commander he falls into this, I don't know, I guess part of GI Joe mythos that I really don't care about too much at all. But I do like how interconnected these four miniseries are. They each play off of each other. Um, so the Cobra Commander series, we end up seeing Destro, and because he plays a pretty major role in the Duke miniseries, and then later on, of course, in his own series, we see Cobra Commander. But yeah, the Cobra Commander stuff just wasn't the best to me. Like I just was not super interested. Um, I was more interested in the parts, honestly, where we had Megatron here at the beginning, because I kind of forgot that had happened in Volume 3 of Transformers. But yeah, seeing Megatron there was a big surprise. Um, yeah, no, it was just different. It was not what I was expecting, or honestly, I didn't know what to expect. But it was, I don't know. It also had some like kind of horror elements to it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was nothing special whatsoever. It was just kind of and just helped set things up and build the world, pretty much. Now moving on to book two, we start a Scarlett miniseries, which off rip, I was enjoying a lot more than the Cobra Commander stuff. Not as much as the Duke stuff, but it's still pretty freaking good. I enjoyed it a ton. You start off with just kind of learning about who Scarlett is and the role she plays, and you're learning about more of the characters around her. Um, we see some like cool espionage kind of stuff, but then she gets wrapped into the wait, Ar Ashikage, I think. Arashikage, I think it's called the Arashikage clan, which is of course Storm Shadow, which was super cool. I enjoyed seeing Storm Shadow, and he played a pretty cool role in this. I always thought Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes were really cool. Um, and hopefully that means we'll get Snake Eyes here in the Energon universe very soon. Although, you know, I have a feeling that maybe Snake Eyes will be one of those things where he's kind of like how Bumblebee is in the Energon universe, where Bumblebee just gets murked off rip and he hasn't come back since. Like, literally in the prologue, Bumblebee dies. And so, just because DWJ didn't really care for Bumblebee and he didn't want to have to write him, I have a feeling that Snake Eyes might be one of those same kind of characters where they're just kind of maybe taking away one of like a fan favorite character. Because I mean, I don't know a whole ton, but I feel like Snake Eyes is probably the most recognizable GI Joe, if not Duke or Scarlett. Um, but I feel like by removing him from the equation, maybe they can focus on other stories they want to tell. I don't know if that's what they're going for. I sure hope not, because again, like with Transformers, I would love to see Bumblebee come back at some point. And same with Snake Eyes. I don't know if Snake Eyes is in like the current ongoing because I'm obviously not caught up with that. But I want to see some Snake Eyes. He's super cool. But we got Storm Shadow, and so she kind of falls in with Storm Shadow and undercover doing this whole mission, and we get this kind of well, at first she's taken captive, and it reminds me a lot of Kill Bill. There's this specific panel right here. Uh, Tell me this right here does not look like it was ripped straight out of Kill Bill. Like, doesn't that not, like that looks exactly like Uma Thurman's character, the Bride, Black Mamba, but like I don't know. There's a lot of because it's having to do with this white girl that falls in with some ninjas and she's like fighting ninjas and shit. Like I don't know, and it's super violent too, which I dig, of course. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. There's kind of like this heist thing. There's a ton of action. I won't spoil it all the way, but no, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And then the ending is just insane too. So yeah, it was just a really cool mini series that I think is again, I think it just comes down to personal preference, but I did like the Duke one more. Honestly, though, they're as far as quality, they're on par. And yeah, Kelly Thompson is just an awesome writer. Um, she's probably one of, if not the best female writer just ever. Um, and honestly, one of the best writers in general out right now. So I love her work on Absolute Wonder Woman. But yeah, this is the only other thing that I've read by her so far. And I mean, she's due for two. This little mini series was fantastic. So yeah, I would definitely like to see her on some other stuff in the Energon universe, maybe in the future. We'll see what happens. But yeah, no, can't complain. It was super cool. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about, of course, Destro. Um, again, once again, like I said with Cobra Commander, it didn't serve a big role for me personally, other than just like building the world and giving context for some stuff that's probably going to happen later and just setting things up. I do think Destro is a more interesting character than Cobra Commander because, I mean, in the Cobra Commander stuff, you have all this weird shit that caught me off guard. But I feel like Destro as a character having uh, been introduced in the Duke miniseries and having a semi important role um, in like the Cobra Commander stuff too. I don't know. We've just seen more of him, and he's not as weird of a character. I mean, he's pretty straightforward, and I just think he's a more interesting character overall than Cobra Commander. Um, and yeah, there was a ton of action in his series. It was, I mean, it was probably, like I said, I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as the other two, but it was still good. The stuff where they had like the battle in the snow, and then learning about, my favorite part personally was learning about Destro's like family history, about like the mask and all that shit with like the ancient, not ancient warriors, but what year was that, 1639, about being like basically, I don't know, arms dealers throughout history, and like wearing the mask and all of that. He's just a really badass villain, and I like seeing him expanded upon. But as far as the story goes, it was nothing crazy. Uh, Once again, just kind of building stuff up. But anyways, overall, reading both of these, I think, was a ton of fun. Of course, the two standouts, Scarlett and Duke. Uh, but I kind of have a good idea now, a pretty solid foundation for hopping into the ongoing, and a solid level of interest and stake in this world and these characters, and sort of the politicking, because there's all of these different clans that we learn about throughout too. Like you've got fucking like the GI Joes with Duke and Scarlet and all that. You've got fucking Mars Industries with Destro. You got the Cobra Clan. You got the, Ashia Kage or whatever the fuck, the Ashira Kage. I don't know. I'm just gonna call them the ninjas. You got the ninjas. Who else you got? You got all these different corporations that I won't spoil it, but um, that are introduced in Destro. You've got the dreadnoughts. Um, yeah, there's just a whole lot of pieces at play here, and then of course it being tied in with Energon universe. In the background you've got the Autobots and the Decepticons that are at war with each other, and all of this is going to come together sooner than later, and I'm just very excited to continue. The third book should be coming out, I believe, in June or July, and I will definitely be picking that one up. I have it pre-ordered, so I will be I'll probably do like a part two to this video when the time comes, talking about my experience with the ongoing. But anyways, guys, that is about all for the video. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.